Okay, guys, 2 more minutes and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started, guys. Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to One Stop Warehouse's exclusive training webinar with Qcells. Thanks for tuning in today. My name is Ramzi Shamali. I'm from the tech department at One Stop Warehouse, and I'm excited to host a webinar today with the leading solar panel manufacturer Qcells. The training presentation today will primarily consist of 2 sections. The first one looking at Qcells Quantum PV technology, which has 21 plus years of German R&D behind it. And the second section will dive into Qcells' unique energy storage solution for residential applications. And this is known as the Q Home ESS unit. For those of you who don't know already, One Stop Warehouse is a proud wholesale distributor of solar equipment, including a large and diverse range of panels, inverters, batteries, mounting systems, BOS, and many, many more electrical equipment. We have a highly dynamic and interactive technical department as well to ensure customers receive the best possible experience and support with their products. To learn more about One Stop Warehouse, our events, promos, and product range, I highly recommend pulling out your phone and scanning the QR code and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm sure you won't regret it. So I'll quickly share the screen now so you can do that. And also, for those of you who don't already know, One Stop is also running a program called One Stop Live Trivia, which runs every Friday at 4 p.m. And this Friday will be the last episode or event. So I'll play a quick trailer about that. If the screen works, there we go. So that's it, guys. Also, One Stop Warehouse, we try to always bring as much information and training resources to our followers as possible. So please stay in the loop for more exclusive webinars like this one today. And finally, let us introduce now our speakers for today. I am honored to host the webinar with Qcells team, consisting of Kelsey, Ricky, and Rayfat. So could you guys please introduce yourselves and let us know briefly what you will speak about in the order of Kelsey, Ricky, and Rayfat?
Sure, thanks Ramzi, and hello everyone, and it's really great to be here. As Ramzi said, my name is Kelsey Jones. I'm the marketing manager for Qcells Australia, and I'll just be giving a brief intro of a little bit about Qcells history and a little bit about where we're going.
Thanks, Kelsey. This is Ricky here from Qcells. I'm the System Engineering Manager for Q Home. So I'll be the one that's looking after the technical aspect of the Q Home. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining in today. Hopefully you enjoy the session.
Hello guys, this is Rayford from Qcells. I'm PV engineer. I will do like brief introduction for module and technology part. Thank you for joining.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, guys. I guess we'll dive straight into it. Kelsey, would you like to share the screen now and begin?
Sure thing. Let me pull it up. I'd like to also apologize in advance for any noise in the background from the home office, whether that be dogs barking or birds singing. It seems like it's all going off right now.
I've already kicked out my colleagues so they don't make any background noise with the typing. So I know the struggle.
Yes, the struggle is real. All right, so just very, very quickly, because I know really a lot of you probably know a little bit about Qcells already and you want to get straight into the technical and the juicy bits with Ricky and Rifat. So I'll just quickly go through maybe a little refresher about Qcells, and for those who maybe are not introduced and well acquainted with Qcells, warm welcome and thanks for joining again. So in terms of manufacturing, where Qcells sits in the ecosystem is we like to think of really the PV manufacturing industry as there's mostly three categories. So we have the mass producers, the Jinko, Trina, Canadian, they have large production capacities, over 7 gigawatts. They're largely members of the Silicon Module Super League, SMSL members, and they have tier 1 bankability from such groups as Bloomberg. Then we have the high performance, the premium producers. They're a little bit more of that niche, but they certainly have a reputation for quality. And then we have innovators and producers. They're the patent holders, record breakers. They produce their own cells with no OEM. But with each of these categories, there's also some drawbacks, maybe for all of the benefits that they have. So, for example, the mass producers, they use an extensive use of OEM. They have often shorter warranties, around 12 years. Maybe not known for their quality standards as compared to the high performance producers. So they have, very, very small production capacities, which adds to the costs. Of course, if you have a, larger production capacities, you have economies of scale, makes products cheaper along with all the other things. And because the premium high performance producers have such small supply, sometimes there's supply issues. And then certainly amongst the innovators and the innovator category, a lot of these names you'll see have either had financial instability or insolvency, and this is because really the R&D that they put in, it's very, very hard to be able to keep that up and be a bankable product. So where does Qcells fit in this? In this landscape, we like to say that we're amongst all three. So by being able to blend the best qualities of each category, Qcells is very, very unique in the market by being able to uniquely shed the negatives. So we are a Korean and German brand. So our technology headquarters is started in Germany and remains in Germany. We have financial backing and business headquarters in Seoul, South Korea. We have top tier bankability from all the major, whether it's PV scorecard or BNEF. We've got it in spades. We're technology pioneers, as you'll hear about further in the presentation. And because we produce quality products at mass scale, we are able to deliver more value. We do 100% of our cells go into our modules. We do not use any OEM, which is a massive point of pride for Qcells. We have a over 20-year history in R&D, as Ramsey mentioned. We started in 1999, so over 21 years. We're one of the most awarded brands in the industry, and we have #1 market share in all of these major regions. So I thought that rather than going through the, the whole, this is when we started, et cetera, that kind of paints a more realistic picture of where Qcells kind of positions ourselves in the market. So we've been making a lot of strides, gaining global #1 market share in country after country, as you can see here. And of course, as I mentioned, our headquarters, we have 9 gigawatts of annual production capacity. We operate 4 R&D centers, including the largest privately held solar PV research center in the world in Thalheim, Germany. And we have manufacturing facilities in 4 different countries. However, I would note that the US production is only for the US market. So as you can see, we, massive scale, and our product range is, we started with solar cells and modules, and in certain regions we operate EPC solutions. And as you'll be hearing about today, we're now branching into providing energy complete solutions, so system solutions from energy storage, and even branching into energy retail in markets like Europe. So Qcells is really on a mission to be a total energy solution provider for consumers, and you'll be hearing about a very important part of that journey today. So as I mentioned, we have just massive scale and bankability. We are backed by South Korea's 7th largest conglomerate, Fortune 500 firm Hanwha Group. So what this means is, with over a 67-year history from that company, plus over 20-year history directly in Qcells, we are setting our business up to be here for the next 100 years. So a point of differentiation with Qcells is that we really look at the long term. A lot of solar players have come and gone, as I'm sure everybody here, can attest to and has witnessed. But we're really focused on that longevity and being that long-term partner, and that's thanks to this strong backing. I mentioned some of our awards. We're one of the most awarded brands in the industry. In particular, we're very honored in Australia to have won the EU-PD Research Top Brand Award for 5 years in a row. So this is the award that basically asks solar installers the question, which brand would you most recommend to friends and family? And they say Qcells. So we're very, very proud of that here in Australia, because that doesn't speak to only the quality of our products, but also the quality of our service, which we will always strive to give. So speaking of that service and that local support, we're 11 years strong in Australia. So we've served the Australian market since 2009, which is longer than any other manufacturer currently on the market. So we have local technical support. You're speaking to 2 of the leaders of that team here today with Ricky and Rifat. And we operate for Q Home 7 days a week technical support. So you can always reach us locally here. That's another key point of differentiation. Other manufacturers, they either have overseas support or third-party support. You call us directly and you're actually speaking to a Qcells representative, because we believe in providing that extra level of care. In addition, we have marketing support. So if you currently carry Qcells, I'm sure that you've been able to either ring up One Stop or ring up us and get your data sheets and your catalogs and brochures. So we try to make it easy for you guys to market to your customers. And then we have training programs such as this that we tailor for our customers. So this training is worth 45 CPD points. If you are interested in redeeming those points, we are more than happy to get your details and send you that certificate, and you'll be able to claim those CPD points. So don't forget about that. And that's really Qcells in a nutshell. I hope I didn't take up too much time, but now we can get into the real fun stuff. But certainly, if you have any questions about Qcells positioning in the market or how you can sell better, feel free to reach out to me anytime. And I'd love to hear from you guys. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Rifat, who will share his screen and get going about modules and technology. All right, take it away, Rifat.
Thanks, Kelsey. Thanks for the comprehensive context about Qcells. Feel free to ask any questions, guys.
Thank you, Kelsey. Great introduction. Just wondering if everyone can see my screen.
Yep.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Rifat. I'll do the module and technology part today. So let's start. First slide is about the product portfolio. So currently we do offer like a Q.PEAK DUO G6+, which is made in Korea and 25 years product and performance warranty. And then the power class is 350. And for the same power class, we also do have like 12-year product warranty and 25-year product performance warranty option, which is like Q.PEAK G2 made in China. And for the residential storage, we currently have Q Home ES Hybrid G2. Ricky will do like more introduction part of this product later. And for the commercial sector, we have like a 400 watt power class and 425 power class module. And those two modules come with a 12 years product warranty and 25 years performance warranty. As you can see from these slides, like a Qcells is like an undeniable leader in PEAK-like technology. Our cells is like quantum cells. It's like a PEAK-like cells, but with 20 years R&D in Germany, plus our Qcells yield security, which I will describe more detailing later. So combined with the PEAK-like cells and R&D in Germany, and then Qcells yield security, we call it like quantum. And all of our cells, like 100% of quantum cells produced goes into our module. So you can see the cell production on the right-hand side, and all of them goes to the module. We don't do OEM cell like other manufacturers. This is how we can guarantee our quality and how we can ensure our modules performance and product warranty. So for these slides, I'll just like a brief overview of our quantum technology. So as I mentioned before, it's combination of the PEAK-based technology plus the 20 years R&D in Germany, and also like our Qcells yield security. So if you see the bottom part, you can see like for the standard solar cells, some of the longer wavelengths will just go through, will not be absorbed by the cells. And the main difference between the quantum solar cells and then the standard cells will be the additional power reflector. So with this power reflector, some of the light, certain wavelengths light would be reflected by the reflector, give them the second chance to absorb. And also it can reduce the recombination loss of the carrier in the backside, which will increase the efficiency as well. This is how we can guarantee like 70% increase. Beyond that, because of quantum cells have like enhanced temperature coefficients, so it can perform optimum in the high temperature. And also we improve the low light behaviors. So for the same power class module, we can generate more electricity during the morning and late afternoon. This is how we can guarantee our yield. The next thing we do is like we change the number of the bus bar. So if you can see, like we increase the bus bar from 4 bus bar to 12 bus bar. This can reduce the electrical resistance. So which means like the electron has a shorter distance to move. And another thing we did is like we introduced the half cells. So we cut the cells into the half. This means the current would be half compared to the full cells as well. So for the resistive loss is current square resistance, which means for the half cells, it would be quarter of the resistance loss compared to the full cells. And for the first things we do is like we change the design of the bus bar design. For the traditional solar cells, they use the flat ribbon design, and we changed to round wire design. There's like 2 reasons why we're doing that. The first reason would be reduce the shading impact. So if you can see for the round wire one, there will be 75% less shading, so all the light will be absorbed. So the sunlight need to hit on the cells to be absorbed. If they just landed on the flat ribbon, it cannot be absorbed. And also another thing the round wire can do is like if the light hit on the edge of the wire, it can be reflected to the cells to be absorbed as well. So this can give another 2% increase. So this is in total 14.5% increase for the power class. So this is like main differentiator for our quantum cells. So this is why we call it quantum. So this is Q-cell security. So for quantum technology, it includes anti-PID, anti-LID, and anti-LETID technology. And also it includes hotspot protect and track Q. I will describe one by one later. So for this one, Qcells find out this degradation mechanism can dramatically influence on the power class and system yield of the panel. This is why we introduced the Qcells yield security. So first thing I would say is like anti-PID. So PID stands for potential induced degradation. What can happen to solar panels installed on the field is like when there's like install the panels on a relatively flat roof. So there's like a conductive part between the glass and then the frame. And then when there's like a raining day, and then when the system is working, there's like a high potential between cells and the glass. So this means the sodium ions can migrate into the cells through the encapsulation, which can shunt the cells, and it can cause like up to 80% loss. Our Qcells R&D engineer in Germany start to study PID since 2008. And then we published first white paper in the industry in 2011. And we did introduce the anti-PID technology from 2012, and it is claimed under our warranty terms as well. So since then, we don't have any PID issue. And on top of that, like if you check the IEC standards of the PID test, there are like two methods. One of the methods is developed by our R&D engineer in Qcells. The next thing I will talk about is the anti-LID technology. So for the LID, it means light-induced degradation. For our using the P-type cells in our manufacturing line, so P-type means like using boron as dopant, and then there's like an oxygen present in the wafer. So when you install the panels on the field, the boron and oxygen will react, and it will like combine like a boron oxygen complex. When it activates, the power loss would up to 6%. Our R&D engineer find a way to deactivate the boron oxygen complex. So this is how we can guarantee like a better first year performance than compared to the other manufacturers. So, and then the second one would be anti-LETID technology. This is different mechanism from the LID. LETID means light elevated temperature induced degradation. So it has to have illumination and then higher temperature like in Australia. So this will take much longer than progress than LID. Just like I mentioned before, LID might be find out in the when you first install on the site, and then it can find out in the first year. But for the LETID, it's gonna take longer to process. You might find out after a few years, but the degradation would be up to 8%. The next things I will talk about is hotspot protect. So we guarantee 100% hotspot free for our cells. The reason why we can do it because we produce 100% of cells in-house, and also we're doing different test method than other manufacturers. So most of manufacturer will sort out hotspot based on the electrical character. But from our R&D engineer analyze, you cannot guarantee 100% hotspot free using electrical measurement. So we're using infrared camera on all our cell level to guarantee 100% hotspot, because for the hotspot, it's caused by the defects from the wafer and then the manufacturing process. For the worst scenario, it can cause like a glass breakage on the side. So this is why we take care of those things, and then we specifically write in that in our warranty terms. The last one I would describe is like PEAK Q, which stands for traceable quality. So this is like our track Q, like a traceable quality, which means like we're using the laser we're using laser to put kind of like QR code on our cells, like just like each module has serial number, our cells has kind of like QR code. So this helps our quality engineer to 100% monitoring at the cell level, which from like what kind of material input they use, and for each step of the production line, this helps them to like understand the production and optimize the production line to guarantee our quality. And also, just like Kelsey mentioned before, our R&D headquarters in Germany, and we also have like a factory cooperation between R&D and all the manufacturing sites. This also allows our communication system to have like a real-time communication to improve our quality and like a best-in-class performance warranty and product warranty module. So for like our Quantum Duo technology, it's like kind of like a half cells module. So for some certain shading situation, if the bottom part was shaded, the top part still can perform, but this is depend on the inverters and then the system design. So if you guys have any kind of like a technical request, you can just like send us email or call the technical line in Qcells. We can help you to give you a better explanation on this. And as I said before, like our best strength is like industrial leading performance warranty. Our Q.PEAK Duo series can guarantee like a 98% of initial performance in the first years, which is like a 1% higher than other manufacturer. This is because our anti-LID technology, and also our annual degradation is like 0.54% after first years. And most of manufacturers offer like a 0.6% or 0.7%. This is like this means at end of 25 years we will have like a 5% higher than the most of the manufacturer. And if you see the blue part in the performance warranty part, this is like an additional year yield we can guarantee for our 25 years time. So for this slide, I'll talk about 4-step quality tests. Qcells doing 4-step quality. The first step is initial registration test. This is for CEC requirement. All the manufacturer has to do like IC testing to meet the global safety standards. And beyond that is the differentiator of our Qcells. So for the level 2, it's just like what I mentioned before, is our Qcells yield security, which includes anti-PID, anti-LID, anti-LETID, hot-stop protect, FACT-Q to trace our every single cells. And on top of that, we're doing the VDE quality testing. VDE quality testing is like VDE internal quality testing group testing program from VDE. VDE is like a testing center, so all the manufacturer can do the level 1 testing at there, but they also have like the stricter test for the module, like because they believe if the panels want to survive 25 years on the field, the IEC test would not be sufficient enough. So this is like 2 times stricter than the global testing standards, and it's like continuously sampling and quarterly monitoring. And also the panels is from the production line directly. And beyond that, we also have our internal quality testing program. We call it like Q-test, which is like 2 times to 3 times stricter than the global testing. So for example, if you see on the right-hand side of the humidity force test, like for the IEC, it like requires like 10 cycles, but for our Qcells internal testing, we do 30 cycles. This is how we can guarantee our product's quality and reliability. And beyond that, we also do like additional testing. So for harsh environment, so we have like soft mist test, ammonia test, and the health test. Like if you need to kind of like a certification, we also can send you the certification if you send us an email. And for the Australia condition, we also do like 2 local testing. So The first one we do is like a Desert Technology Solar Center in Alice Spring. Qcells is one of the few manufacturers who regularly put the panels on the site. This is guaranteed. This is kind of like our confidence how our panels can perform on the real fields, and all the result is publicly available, so you can download the result and compare with the different manufacturer, like how they performance on the harsh environment in the Alice Spring, and I will show you the comparison later. And also we do like a cyclone testing in James Cook University. So for IEC standard, it requests like 3 compression tests of 2,400 Pascal, but we do like 4,000 Pascals for our 120 cells module. And also for the cyclone testing, is doing like over 10,000 compression to simulate not only static load, but also dynamic load. This is kind of like example result of our module. So if you want kind of like a summary or certification, you can also send us an email and then we can share you the cyclone testing result as well. So this is a thing, this is a image, this is a graph I sent before, like this is a comparison we download from the Alice Spring. So there will be like over 30 installation on the website. And you can see like a Qcells module has performed like amongst top of the modules since 2010. And if you see the specific yield for 6-month generation from March 2019 to February 2020, you can see 4 out of top 6 modules are Qcells. The blue one is a Qcells and the gray is other manufacturer. So this is like a testing. You guys can just like log into the Desert Technology Centers and then you can see the real result by yourself as well. And this is a summary of our quality. So as I mentioned before, we do stricter tests than IEC. We do the double tests, double than IEC minimum standards. And for the wind load, we do 4,000 Pascal, and most of manufacturer would only do 2,400 Pascal. We do additional testing for harsh environment. We can provide you salt mist test result, ammonia test result, and a hail test result, and also PID. We do the cyclone testing in the GCU. We do product all 100% of cell in-house with no outsourcing. This is how we can guarantee our quality and how we can do our better performance warranty. And for the performance warranty, we do like offer like a 98% for the first years and 85% of 25 years. This is guarantee you additional yield for 25 years. We also have like strong product warranty to back up quality claims. So if you see like other manufacturers might offer 10 or 12 years warranty, we do offer 12-year product warranty and 25 years product warranty. And this is like the end of my slide. So just wondering if you guys have any questions on the technical side of the module.
Cool. Thanks, Rayfat. I think we answered all the questions that were pending.
Okay.
So we'll just keep moving on to Ricky's presentation, and we'll come back at the end and answer any excess questions. So go ahead, Ricky.
Cool. Thanks, Rifat, for the great intro to our modules. I mean, how exciting is that? You know, Qcells has been quite a history in making great panels. And what's more exciting is that Qcells is now going to make energy storage and inverters. I know it sounds a bit new, but let me tell you a story about Q Home. So everybody see my screen all right? So feel free to type in any questions in the Q&A down below, or in the chat as well. We'll be able to respond to that soon. refarts also come across Q-Home as well. So, you know, all, our engineers are all technical experts on not just panels, but also the Q-Home. So you don't need to speak to different engineers. So we all talk with each other. So that's something that Qcells is able to provide, I think. Not many that we'll be able to see in the industry. And that's what, you know, Qcells is trying to do, something that give not just the consumers or the customers, but also you guys, the installers, the electricians, the people who runs the business, trying to, you know, change the way that the world is running, trying to provide renewable powers, to give them a peace of mind, you know, a product that needs to last long and needs to work together. So not panels to panels, but also panel, inverter, and battery all synchronized together, or, you know, talking with each other nicely, and last that, you know, entire lifetime that it's supposed to do. So that's why Qcells is coming out with this product, fully wrapped, 10 years product and performance warranty. Only a single point of contact. You don't need to talk to with multiple manufacturers. Just talk to Qcells. One throat to choke. What more can you, what do you need to ask? It's something that's, you know, point of difference in the industry. I know it's been quite different in the past. You know, everybody's very like the flexibility of installation with different designs, choosing different products. But look back again, how many of those systems has problems under your belt, and you have to contact different manufacturers? You don't need to do that with Qcells. You just contact Qcells, we're here. So let me go about a little bit about our history. I think not many of you guys probably know that Samsung has actually released an all-in-one unit back in, very early in 2016. So Qcells in Europe, our colleagues in Europe, they actually was talking with Samsung for quite some time, and then they start doing an OEM or rebranding of the Samsung all-in-one in the European market. And we launched that quite successfully in 2016 for a number of years. We've been selling that couple of thousand units installed in the European market. Unfortunately, we didn't get that chance in Australia under Qcells, but that's why we come up with the G2s, the second generation. But the first generation has been there for quite some time, and we, seen a great track record in the European market, and that's why we want to bring it to Australia as well, the second generation. So with the all-in-one unit Samsung, the battery cells are all made by Samsung SDI. I'm sure some of you might be aware of the history of Samsung, but for those that aren't aware, they, quite a good track record, and I'll go through that later as well. But the inverter itself, inverter is actually by a company called Hansol. Now, Hansol is a sister company of Samsung. So they're affiliated. They, quite focus on the quality, which, Qcells is quite focused on. And that's something that, it's in the backbone of our DNA. So that's why we selected Samsung to partner with, and they create this all-in-one, and then we, piggyback on their success, the heritage, and then we created this G2 along with them. So G2 second generation came out early in the 2018. So that came about because the first generation was a bit bulky. A lot of installers saying it's hard to install, quite heavy to install. So that's why we created this a bit more compact, much flexible installation, not all in one, but rather a separate component of the inverter as well as the battery, to give that flexibility of installation for especially installers, electricians. They don't have to break their backs trying to carry one big bulky unit. So that's why G2 came about, and then that will still retain that the qualities that we've seen in first generation. And some of you might actually know that Australia did release a few Hansol units all-in-one in Australia, and you probably, if you go through the Canberra test center, battery test center, you'll see that there's a Samsung all-in-one in there, and that's actually the first generation that came about in Australia. And that has been actually still running to this date since 2017, I believe. So quite a good track record from Samsung, and as you can probably see, we want to see the same thing in the second generation as well. Just a piece of information: even though the inverter is manufactured by Hansol, We actually acquired Hansol last year in 2018. So Qcells acquired the Hansol ESS division 2018. So all the manufacturing process, all the R&D, they're all going to be falling under Qcells, or they already have. Sorry, correct that. So everything is all now manufactured by Qcells, inverter and the the entire closure, as well as the integration between the inverter and the battery cells. The only thing that's we still carry on from the first generation or from the history is the Samsung battery cells. So we still carry on that Samsung heritage, but bringing on the extra values of being a Qcells company, Qcells manufacturing, and give you all those savings and quality delivered to the to you guys. So Samsung SDI track record, global #1 in terms of CNI energy storage. I'm sure you are quite aware of this brand Samsung, and although they don't have too much track record in terms of residential in the Australian market, but in CNI space they have quite a track record since 2010, over 15 plus gigawatt hours across the world, more than 50 countries. That goes to show Samsung is not just a cell manufacturer, but they also have quite an impact in terms of delivering the values and also quality products to a lot of big projects, as well as onto the energy storage sector. Bit of history, or sorry, not bit of history, but bit of a track record. The Samsung SDI battery cells that are used in second generation, they actually used in the Hornsdale battery by Tesla. I'm not sure if anybody are aware of that. So so as you can see, the Hornsdale battery has been performing quite well. Hopefully we'll see the same amount of performance and durability in the second generation as well. So that goes without saying, Q-Hum is fully compatible with all our Qcells modules. So we're coming out with all the G6 Plus and the Q-Max as well. Very exciting new panels that we've got on offer, and that's all compatible with the Q-Hum. Now with the different range of solar panels, you can you can design effectively for different conditions, different orientations. That allows you to have better designs for your for the installations. And one highlight I would want to say with our panels as well as the Q-Hum is that Q-Hum can be oversized. Not just the standard 6.6 kilowatt maximum usable. Well, that's the maximum DC usable, but you can actually oversize as long as you don't go over the voltage range. That's something that the flexibility the Q-Hum can offer. So you can add, I mean, most installers we've seen has been putting 8 kilowatt of PV array from our previous G5 Plus, 330 watt, and then they'd be able to oversize that to 8 kilowatt. So with the G6 Plus and as well as the Q-Max G2, we'll be able to give additional oversizing if necessary, and depending on the site as well. But Q-Hum is available to flexible designs and installations. So what is Q-Hum? Q-Hum comes with the hybrid inverter, as I mentioned, as well as the batteries. So you have the flexibility of modular scalable batteries. You got the 4, 8, and the 12. And if for some customers doesn't want the batteries, they can add on to that later. So they can just install the hybrid inverter first, which is a 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter. As I mentioned, because the hybrid inverter, the DC input, max usable is 6.6, but you can still oversize it to bigger PV arrays. But the AC output is a 5 kilowatt AC, and I'll go a little bit details about the inverter as well later. So as you can see here on the pictures, the right hand side, the one with the screen, is actually the inverter, and then on the left the modular batteries. What you see here is pretty much what you need to bring onto the site. There's no extra components like the battery controller box, or there's no extra components like the backup box, anything like that. Everything's all integrated inside our hybrid inverter and also our battery as well. And the reason is our batteries comes in parallel, and I'll explain a little bit that later. Excuse me. As I mentioned, the system is a hybrid inverter, quite plug and play. So you can have the solar panels plug straight into the inverter, and then you have the house loads connect to the hybrid inverter as well. And you know, to make the installation much more flexible, you don't need to install additional components. And one beauty of the hybrid inverter I want to highlight is the integrated DC isolators. So we do have the level 3 ERAC compliant DC isolator inside the hybrid inverter. So, you know, give the additional flexibility for installers like yourselves, not to bring DC isolators that's prone to failure, as we've seen in the past. So you don't need to install that as well. So you don't need to do cable runs, which, you know, take a lot of time. So all you have to do is just plug the solar panels from the roof and then run it down into the inverter, and then, you know, make the installation much quicker and much easier. And we also have the DC isolator can also isolate not just the solar, but also the battery as well. So you have 2 points of isolation within just one small unit. So that saves a lot of trouble for, you know, not just AS5033, but also AS5139 as well. You know, the standards to provide that sort of isolation for the installation. So, you know, that's the sort of values, you know, our Q-Hum can bring onto the table. The other values we have is the IP65 outdoor rating. So what that means is you can install outdoor as well as indoor. A little bit of shading is recommended because, as you're probably aware, the Australian sun is quite strong. No one can, you know, stand withstand that sort of heat. Even though Q-Hum can, but, you know, because we don't have that integrated cooling method where, you know, we don't have that active cooling method. So there is a temperature tolerance of 0 to 40 degrees ambient. Anything above 40 degrees ambient, the inverter will start derating until 50 degrees ambient. So just note that. However, you know, it's completely outdoor proof. You can put it anywhere as long as, you know, it's fits within the standards. And the battery can place beside the inverter as well. And if you need to give a bit of space between the inverter and battery, you can also do that. So we allow a maximum 3 meters distance between the inverter and the battery. And we got extension cables available for the comms. So again, flexibility on installation. The other points I want to highlight is the passive cooling. So all natural, there's no active cooling applied onto the unit. The reason is because we've seen many manufacturers, they incorporate this, the cooling fan is one of my you know, personal dislikes because it's prone to failure. And I have inverters in the past as well, personally. And that's one of the biggest warranty claims in, you know, in the manufacturing history. So we don't want those fans inside the unit. We want the system to be non-mechanical or passive cooling, so that it will last that, you know, 10 years period. And that's one of the reasons why it's a little bit heavier, even though the size is not as big as you think it is. As you can see in the back of me, it's quite flexible. So yeah, 1 or 2 people can actually carry on that. There's no issue. I mean, it's 52 kilos. Even myself, I can carry that sometimes from the warehouse. No issues. But basically, there's no because there's no cooling fan. So the we have to provide a heat sink or a very smart sort of heating heat cooling method. So that's why we have a massive heat sink in the back, so that the temperature can, you know, dissipate quite more efficiently. The other highlights, we got the floor mount options, where you can, you know, with the additional brackets, where you can add on to that. As a standard, it's a wall mounted, but, you know, the brackets, it comes with, you can get it from Qcells or One Stop. where we can provide that so you can, have the flexibility of installations. The other highlight is high voltage. I know some of you will say, what's high voltage? Now, high voltage, in the technical standard, it means no voltage, not extra low voltage. So high voltage, in a sense, it's a 200 volt DC battery, not the conventional 48 volt low voltage ones. We actually have the 200 volt DC batteries. So that's add-on flexibility. Imagine your PV array is around 300 to 400 volt DC. So if you got the DC-DC conversion from the PV to charger batteries, you can see that the 400 down to the 200 volt DC gap, it's much smaller if you have a low voltage battery where it's a 48. So that DC, high voltage DC battery will increase the efficiency of the batteries, as well as, provide better yield gains overall throughout the lifetime of the batteries. The other highlight is the parallel string, as I mentioned, because it's a parallel, so you don't need to have additional battery box because the voltage is all 200 across the board. It will only increase in current. So you can actually, if you want to put in DC isolation, you just have to put in some DC breakers, like same as the one that you use for PV array. So you don't need to put in extra bulky fuse, which sometimes you have to specially order, which is quite hard to get. So that's added installation flexibility for you guys. One thing I will mention here is never go dark again. So it does come with the integrated backup, which I will explain a bit more details later on. So here I'll go through a bit of the operation modes, the typical operation modes that the Q.ANTUM will provide. So because it's a hybrid inverter, so the solar can both charge the batteries and supply the load simultaneously. As you can see here, it can take in 6.6 kilowatt. And even though the 5 kilowatt output is going to the load for on the AC side, the extra 1.6 kilowatt can actually go charge the batteries. So, it will utilize all those extra power coming in from the solar. And if there's a bit of shading, the solar or the system will just prioritize the load and not charge the batteries. And if the load is larger than the solar, then the battery will come in and supply to the load. And then if there's no sun, the battery will just focus on the load. And then in the blackout period, now one beauty of this is that when there's a blackout, normally the battery will only sustain the load as long as there's a charge, right? But in our situation with the Q.ANTUM, the solar will able to charge a battery as well in the blackout. So it will create that extra autonomy, extra power capacity for the system, so that your loads will be protected in the blackout situation. And if you have more than 2 weeks of power outage, for some reason there's blackouts in the summertime, it'll last a long time. If during the daytime, if you got enough solar, you'll be able to provide that sort of additional backup. And that goes without saying, without this, so during nighttime, the battery will just supply the load with a blackout situation. So again, the key points, key values, the modular batteries, as I mentioned before, 4, 8, and 12, and then the 10 years product and performance warranty coming from the Qcells manufacturing. So that's both the inverter and the battery, just remember that. And then the Samsung lithium-ion batteries with a very good reputation. And then we've got the remote maintenance, which I'll go through that later on as well for monitoring purpose. And then one highlight is the throughput energy, high throughput energy guarantees. And I will go through that as well. So again, the local support we have, and then the award-winning coming from the Qcells manufacturing, and also the 10 years product and performance warranty. So with the throughput energy, I'll just go as brief as possible. With this one, it's a little bit quite new because not many manufacturers offer the throughput energy. I'm not sure if you're aware. They rather focus on the cycle life. To add to Qcells, we believe that the cycle life is not defined. If you look into the definition of cycle for batteries, there's no definition. If you ask the question, if you have a half cycle one day and then half cycle another day, does that mean it equates to one cycle? I don't think any manufacturer will say that it will be a yes, and then they will warrant that. So that's why we do a little bit different, and we rather do the cycle life, we do a throughput. What throughput is the amount of energy, accumulated energy that you can get from the Qcells batteries. So that's pretty clear cut. So what you get is what you see is what you get. And then you can also tell the consumer as well that, if you have a Qcells batteries, this is the amount of energy you get throughout the 10 years lifetime. If you don't get that much, then it's on us. But how that compares to the market, we are actually one of the top ones. If you look into details as well, I won't go through it today, unfortunately, but feel free to look into it, or come back to us and ask questions. But basically, we believe we are one of the highest performing guarantees in terms of throughput energy for the Qcells batteries. As you can see here, is 3.2 megawatt hour per kilowatt hour usable. So if you say for a 4 kilowatt hour battery, you multiply that by 90% depth of discharge, the usable will be 3.6, and then 3.6 multiplied by 3.2, and then you get that throughput energy amount. That's the total amount of energy you can get from the 10 years lifetime. So the other highlight I want to mention is, as I mentioned, depth of discharge 9%, the usable is 3.6, and then 7.2 and 10.8 for the 8 and 12. The charge power is 2 for the 4, but 3 for the 8 and 12. The discharge power is 3 across the board, and that's actually much better for the 4 kilowatt hour batteries, because as you can see here, it's not a 0.5 C, but it's also a little bit more than that. So you get the most power out of the 4 kilowatt hour battery if you have that maximum discharge power. The other thing I'll mention with the Samsung battery cells, Samsung technology is actually quite a good technology, because it's a can type or cylindrical type cells compared to the pouch type. So as you can see here, there's 7 steps takes to dissipate the battery cells for the pouch type, and it's only one-sided. So what that means, there's even heat dissipation, and throughout 10 years is a long time. So if you can imagine that throughout 10 years, the imbalance of the heat dissipation, the cells would degrade much unevenly, and you probably get a shorter lifetime. I'm not sure, but we don't know how other manufacturers do it, but that's what we can understand from based on what we know, is that the method that they use is only one-sided, whereas the can type is an overall heat emission, heat dissipation, where it's much faster, much better, much overall. So you don't have that sort of issues of unbalanced degradation in the cells. So it's a much better performance and much better reliability coming out from the Samsung technology cells. The other thing is safety. I know a lot of customers, not just our installers or retailers, but also consumers. They ask about safety. How safe are the lithium-ion battery cells? Now, there's been a bit of message about LFP in the industry that it's safer than NCM. It's true if you look at just the chemistry itself, but if you look at on the pack level, on the pack level, it's not just the chemistry, but there's also other components. Now, if you look at the anode side, which is a negative side, it's actually charged graphite for both NCM and LFP. LFP, sorry, I should go back a bit. LFP means lithium iron phosphate, just in case you don't know. And Qcells Q-Hum is using NCM chemistry, which is the nickel, cobalt, and manganese chemistry, which is a bit more, has more energy density, but a little bit more volatile in terms of safety. But again, as I mentioned, they both actually uses the charged graphite on the anode side. Now, thermal runaways, which is the fire that's prone in, as you can probably see in many historical news about lithium fires. And that's usually the cause of thermal runaways. And the cause for thermal runaways is actually from the anode side. So if you look at in the history that all the battery cells, all the battery packs, sorry, they all use charged graphite. So there's actually no difference between the safety or the risk between lithium iron phosphate and nickel, cobalt, and manganese. So there are no additional safety if you use lithium iron phosphate, because when a fire happens, you can't really stop it. It's just when there's nickel, cobalt, manganese, when for the NCM type batteries, it just means the fire will just propagate faster. But that doesn't mean it will stop the fire from happening. So what Samsung did was throughout the UL 95408 test, they implemented additional safety measures on top of what has they already incorporated to actually remove the any chance of that happening from thermal runaways from happening. So that's the additional sort of safety standards that the Samsung put into. So that gives you the assurance that lithium-ion batteries from Samsung is quite safe. So onto the inverter. So the inverter is a hybrid inverter, but it's also a grid-forming inverter. What that means is, unlike other systems, the grid doesn't need the inverter doesn't need the grid to start up. So you can start up the inverter just using the solar. You don't need the grid to start up. So in a sense, it's like a black start inverter, and then you can also use it as a standalone operation as well. So in a situation where you only have only solar available, and you actually didn't install a battery, you could actually provide that blackout support with just the solar. So what that means is, if your customer has bought a hybrid inverter, a Q-Home inverter, and they want backup that comes with it without the batteries, and yes, the question is yes, you can do that with just the solar panels plus the inverter, and to provide backup, as long as the solar can provide that power for the backup. So if, for example, it's generating 1 kilowatt of solar, and then the customer is only using about 500 watt of power at the same time, then the solar will be able to back up those power in the blackout situation. If the load goes more than 1 kilowatt to say 1.5 kilowatt, then the inverter will shut down and then won't be able to supply power, because the load obviously is bigger than the solar can provide. But however, they can always bring the load down, and then the solar will start again, and then the power backup will provide it again. So that gives them a bit more extra backup ability in case they didn't install the batteries, or they want time to analyze whether the battery is right for them. So having said that, it's good to have the battery, because battery will provide that extra power. As you can see here, even though the battery can provide a 3 kilowatt continuous power on the backup, so during the nighttime, it will keep pumping out power to the load at 3 kilowatt for those blackout situations. But during the day, it can pump out 4.6 kilowatt for 10 minutes. So give that extra power for blackout situation. And as I mentioned before, 6.6 kilowatt can be used if it's generating 6.6 kilowatt of DC usable. Then even though the 5 kilowatt can go to the AC, the other 1.6 can actually go to charge the batteries. Onto the multi-phase. So Q-Home, even though it's a single phase inverter, it's actually compatible with 3-phase. So what that means is, even though it's hooked up to one of the phase only, it's actually able to read up the other 2-phase, provided that you install the correct energy meter or the power meter that's supplied by Qcells. So we do use a compatible smart meter called, or a brand called Carlo Gavacci. So it's an Italian-made company, and it's quite reliable, and we see quite a good performance from them. But yeah, Qcells supplies that, and One Stop Warehouse also supplies that. So you can use the 3-phase energy meter or smart meter. We also have the option of single phase, three-phase, and also two-phase if necessary, and also the CT version. So you can actually, if you have bigger AC cables, you can just use a CT. We'll be able to clamp onto that and make the installation much flexible. But back to the multi-phase compatibility. So imagine if you hook it onto one of the phase, that phase is not using any power. As you can see here, one of the light bulb is only taking 0 kilowatts, so it's not using any power. The other two phase is taking 1 kilowatt and 2 kilowatt. So the inverter, sorry, not the inverter, the smart meter, so the power meter, we're able to tell that there's 3 kilowatt in total from the other two phase, and then you'll tell the inverter to discharge 3 kilowatt to the connection that it's connected to. So it will discharge 3 kilowatt, and then the utility meter, it will balance it out by telling, so it's importing 3 kilowatt and exporting 3 kilowatt at the same time. That becomes a net zero. So that's how you net off the energy by utilizing the power meters. So that's how the Q-Home can be compatible with three-phase properly. Just to know that this the Q-Home is a single phase, and then it can only back up a single phase. It can't back up any two-phase or three-phase, unfortunately. So, but it will be able to provide that support for that single phase blackout protection. On the backup side, I mean, as you can probably see, it's a 3 kilowatt. It can provide quite a good power, plenty for a lot of different appliances. So you got the lights. Most customers have been putting lights on as a backup. The router, the laptop, some fridge as well, and that has been no issues. And also some pumps as well to pump water, that sort of thing. There hasn't been no issues at all. And the other thing is that even though it's a 3 kilowatt backup supply, you can actually hook on to maximum 6 kilowatt for grid connected purpose. So during normal situation, 99% of the time, the system is running grid connected. There's no blackout. And I'm sure, most of the region, it's only blackout doesn't happen often. So 99% of the time is grid connected. You got, a lot of appliances hooked onto it. And most installers don't want to just pick one circuit, but they want to back up the entire circuit. That's fine, as long as you don't do more than 6 kilowatt or 25 amps. So put on a 25 amp circuit breaker and then keep it under 25. And then during grid connected situation, all those load on the backup circuit will be powered by the Q-Home. So the Q-Home will be able to support up to 6 kilowatt during grid connected situation. And then when a blackout happens, even though our output is maximum 3, all the customer or the homeowners have to do is turn down some of the appliances. They can just turn down the TV or the oven, and then once they keep it under 3 kilowatt, then the inverter will start and provide pumping those power back onto the appliance. So that added flexibility for installation, and we have seen a lot of our customers has put on the entire house on a backup as well. So quite an easy, flexibility to install, as well as providing that backup solution for the customers. On the monitoring side, we got the Qcells monitoring as a standard. So that monitoring comes with installer view, homeowner or user view, and then as well as the admin view, where we Qcells have access to, or our operators that's using the web monitoring, and that's all very standard. But on top of that, we actually partnering with SwitchDin. So SwitchDin has provided that additional monitoring. I'm not sure if you're aware, but they're quite similar to many monitoring platforms like SolarAnalytics, Reposit. But the difference is that it's able to provide a different amount of functionality. Initially their focus was more industrial. They provide that sort of VPP platform for a lot of projects around Australia. So their technical in-house skills engineering is quite good, and that's why one of the reasons why we have partnered with them. And then the flexibility of their solution is quite different as well. So they can the droplet is quite so that monitoring platform is device, as you can see in the middle, that little black thing, that is the droplet. It's quite flexible in terms of installation. You can either demount it onto the switchboard, or you can just hook it up inside the homeowner's home using the power supply that comes with it. So it just sits as like a modem or a router that you can see at home, and then you're able to integrate with the Q Home easily, able to monitor the Q Home easily, just as long as it's connected onto the same network. So there's multiple ways to connect the droplet for monitoring purpose. They can either use the homeowner's network, or they can use the internet network GSM. So you can have a USB dongle using Telstra GSM or something, and then you can plug it onto the USB port on the droplet, and then it will create its own independent internet network. So for off-grid projects or standalone projects, the droplet is quite versatile, quite durable in those situations, and provide that internet support flexibility. And also, if your customers has existing system, and for example, they put in they have an SMA system running on the old Qcells panels, and they want to add more panels or add on batteries, they can do an upgrade with the addition of SwitchDin to aggregate that monitoring together. So rather than having to monitor SMA and then monitor Qcells separately, they can all monitor under SwitchDin. So SwitchDin have that flexibility of adding together, aggregating the monitoring platform. The other thing they can do is PV forecasting, and then live monitoring as well for the grid as well as the system. Lot of different flexibility, and on top of that, there's advanced monitoring and also very cool features that comes out in the future. Where we Qcells works with SwitchDin closely to roll out those sort of functionalities and features. So a lot of exciting things that comes out, not just for on the hardware side, but also on the software side, to give that additional visibility for the homeowners to able to control their system, as well as monitor their systems on the palm of their hands. So that's something that very exciting for us. With our relationship with SwitchDin. So at the moment, we offer a 1-year free monitoring subscription with the SwitchDin, but definitely there's additional years of subscription available. So we'll let you guys know when there's a new one comes out, the details of those when it comes out. But definitely it's something that it's very exciting for us, and definitely something that the SwitchDin is quite unique to the market. And not just with the Qcells, but they also aggregate with different manufacturers as well. So especially for South Australia, there's a lot of questions about whether Q Home or any other products that's compatible. Yes, Q Home is on the list as well in South Australia, so we comply with all those all the requirements. And then SwitchDin also enable us to be a relevant agent as well, for the other networks to be a relevant agent in order to meet those the connection and reconnection requirements for South Australia. So using that aggregation of monitoring, as I mentioned, standard monitoring, minute interval data for the installers to monitor the system, and also live monitoring. I think this is very critical because most of the installers, they experience a lot of grid-related issues, high voltage issues, and they won't be able to monitor unless they put in something at the site. So SwitchDin is able to do that with live few seconds data, so you don't have to wait for a minute or so just to watch that, or you don't have to click a button. You just need to go into the live section, and then you're able to monitor the life seconds of the grid, and you're able to identify critical, high voltage situations or anything that's abnormal from the grid. Excuse me. So that you don't have to go back onto the site. Save your time and money. I know, out in the country area where there's, a lot of grid issues, and that's something that SwitchDin is able to do and provide. And on top of that, they can monitor our system, and you can monitor different strings to see the voltage is working and current is, providing, and all sorts of information about our system as well. So not just the grid, but, also our system. And on top of that, node and fault notifications. So anything like that, that's that's provided under the SwitchDin platform. And for the Qcells after sales support, we do have our Q Home Service Center. I think most of you installers, especially electricians, will like the fact that Q Home provides a 7-day support. It's something that I think it's quite unique in the industry. I know most of you, go onto the site on a Saturday and want to ring the manufacturer for site support. As even the small questions like, where does this cable fit? You just want someone to be able to answer that. Nothing too serious. And then, we do have someone available 7 days a week, so you can call us Saturday or Sunday, and we're able to provide the answer on the spot as well. So just note down the 1-800 Q Home 0 and the email supporting system as well. You should shoot us an email and respond to that straight away as soon as possible. And then any sort of issues, especially site support issues, if you get stuck at the site, and given the restrictions we have recently, we can't cross borders and all that. We do have a network support of technicians across the different states. So if you do need tech support, we can send someone, whether you're in WA, Northern Territory, South Australia. We do have someone in those regions. We can send someone there to able to support you onto the field. So not over the phone, but onto the field. Just note that in mind. So we're here to support you regardless of what sort of questions you have. So it's not just the warranty support, but this is also tech support as well. So where like your first time installing the Q Home and you need support, this is where we'll be able to help you. So our case study, just one of our first system that was that was installed back in 2019 August last year. So it just came across the first year anniversary. This customer Ross, he's quite happy with the system. I still talk with him every now and then, just to keep an eye. He's very happy with the system, looking at the system almost every day now, and always curious to see what's happening with the system. Even though he's only have a 4 kWh, as you can see, probably see that the self-consumption ratio has kind of dropped down in the winter period, even though it's like close to 80% during the summer period. And that's because he's increased the load quite dramatically during the winter period. We had a pretty cold winter, and unfortunately for Woodend area, it was even quite cold. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but Woodend is quite the outback area in a way. So Ross lives on a quite large area of land, a lot of forest, a little bit isolated. So he will require quite an independent power source to sustain his property. So not just electricity, but also his water supply as well. So he needs to supply continuous power to his pump. And he get quite a few power outages back in the past. So with the addition of Q Home, it's not just saving him money, but also provide that reliability for backup for his pump, so that he's able to have showers every morning or whenever he needs to. But yeah, in the past he hasn't had showers for 3 days or 4 days, which is quite uncomfortable. I'm sure you're aware. And yeah, so this completely changed Ross's lifestyle, and that's one of the reasons as he's quite happy with the systems. But not just this system, but we have a lot of other systems installed across the country. We have a lot of system across in European market as well, our colleagues in Europe. So quite a few system installed. But hopefully, you know, from my end, we'll love to see more and more installations coming in from you guys, because it's quite exciting to see this product out there. You know, we're just trying to change the way that the industry has been going. We want to provide that sort of peace of mind that Qcells has always been delivering. Again, one point of contact is something that's quite unique to the market. We want you guys to be taken care of. We want you guys to make an easy sell to the customers, and you know, we're here to support you guys. So I think that's it from my end. Please, I think there's quite a few questions. Sorry, I didn't come across those questions myself, but we'll try and answer them as much as possible. Feel free to raise any questions.
Thanks, Ricky. That was a great presentation. Appreciate you sharing that. So as you guys can see, Qcells takes quality very seriously, emphasized by the extensive quality tests, and also focusing primarily on Australian conditions in all their simulated tests, as you can see. And now they're also innovating bundled solutions for yourselves and with that comes a single point of contact. So this is very useful as well. And as you can see, they're very open to provide you any technical support, understand that it's a newly introduced product to the market. And yes, so this transition phase, they are here to help and will provide you any support needed. You're right, Ricky, there's quite a lot of questions. We answered as much as we could. Thank you guys for asking and participating in this discussion. So how about we finish them off? Well, how about that, Ricky?
Yeah, no problem. Sounds good.
Okay, I will moderate for you and I'll just shoot them your way.
I'll go through one by one. So the first question from Carl Patrick. So the ambient temperature, as I mentioned, was 40 degrees, and above that it will derate up to a maximum 50 degrees. So for the warranty, as long as the ambient temperature doesn't go above 50 degrees recorded, that'll be fine. So our inverter, as well as the battery, can measure the temperature. You'll be able to know that the temperature for the battery cells, and then we'll be able to calculate what the ambient temperature. And not only that, but you know, through the monitoring as well. And we do have, you know, records of that. What sort of temperature during that day that the thing occurred. But in the event that it does go over 50 degrees, in our warranty document, it does specify how much derating of that performance of the warranty. So if it goes above 50 degrees, say 1 degree or something, and then there's a formula that says how much warranty of that's taken out. It's not a big one. I won't go through the details because it's a sophisticated calculation, but look at through our warranty. If there's any questions, shoot us an email or give us a call. We'll be able to answer that for you. For the next question, sorry, just one at a time. From KK. So how does LHV or LV, so high voltage or low voltage, help a consumer? So as I mentioned, the our batteries are high voltage batteries, which is 200 volt DC, and then low voltage are 48 volt. So that's a conventional way of saying that. But the technical ways is the low voltage and the extra low voltage. So I won't confuse you, but our batteries are 200 volt DC. As I mentioned, because the PV array is a 400 volt DC, it's around that. So from 400 down to 200, the conversion ratio is much smaller compared to a 48 volt battery. So you get that extra yield, extra higher efficiency gains from that DC to DC conversion. So what that means, the consumers will get more energy coming out from the system, coming from Qcells only, as well as from the inverter and the batteries. So another question from John Coney. So can you connect two hybrid inverters in parallel? Unfortunately, we can't connect two of them in parallel. You can do it in split phase or split load. However, we do see that having SwitchDin will be able to sort of do that. The only reason I said oh, hang on, sorry, I'll go back. If there's no batteries connected to the hybrid inverter, it's possible. There's no issue because the system don't need to determine when to charge the battery, so they don't need to fight with each other, and that's the only reason, because the hybrid inverters don't talk with each other. But if you only have one of the system with battery, that's fine also. But if you have two of the system with two batteries, then that will make it a bit more difficult. But SwitchDin, with the additional SwitchDin, we'll be able to do that, and we're able to offer additional controls as well. I think there's a little bit more detail in terms of how it works, but shoot us an email if you have further questions about this as well. Hopefully that answers the question. So another question: does 10-year warranty includes cost of labor? Yes. I think this one is yes. So as I mentioned, 10 years product and performance warranty from the system, both inverter and the battery. So that includes the labor as well. So this one from Paul. So it's not exactly a UPS. It's more like an EPS, because the transfer time between grid connected to off grid is about 10 seconds or so. At the moment, we stay under 30 seconds, but we tested for many appliances in Australia, there's about 10 seconds. So we don't want to provide that sort of UPS functionality because it's a 10 years warranty. As you can imagine, a decade worth of warranty on an inverter that we don't know how bad the grid is. So, we want to provide that sort of security and durability and reliability for the system. So 10 second is something that we calculate based on that 10 years of warranty we provide. And the other reason we see that, there's not many demand for UPS at the moment, unless it's some medical equipment or something that has, or IT equipment that requires that, UPS transfer. If customers require that sort of protection, then I still recommend them to get actual UPS rather than having a solar energy storage system. And we want them to feel the blackout as well, because if they don't feel the blackout, they won't know how long their battery will gonna last. Because you'll never know how long a blackout will last, but you will know how long your battery can last. And if the blackout lasts longer than your battery, you're not gonna be happy. Your customer's not happy. You're not gonna be happy. No one's happy. So that's why we want them to feel the blackout. And within that 10-second sort of period, we want them to say, oh, the lights has turned down. What happened? And then they will be like, oh, maybe it's a blackout situation. I need to turn down some appliances so that I will have enough power for the blackout. That sort of situation, we want to convey to customers, because a lot of customers has been seeing a lot of issues with the backup ability. So that's sort of difference, we offered to the market. Yeah, so Sean asked a question about the oversizing. So there are, some people has been, there are some people, oversizing the system. I think this we'll need to discuss a bit more in detail. So Sean, please email me about this particular question. So, and the background of this question, I'll be able to, give you a more detailed answer. So Sean again, with the three phase work with the blackout. So unfortunately, our system can't work can't provide backup for the three phase. It will only provide backup to that single phase that it's connected to in the blackout situation. The power meter won't be powered in the in the blackout situation, so it won't be able to see the other two phases. So that's why it can only back up the only single phase it's connected to. Janit, in a two-phase property with a three-phase meter. So in that sense, yes, the Q-Home can. So if you have a two-phase property and then you want to connect the Q-Home to it, yes, it will be able to see the other two phase. All you have to do is use a three-phase smart meter, and then the Q-Home will be able to read the other two phases. But again, it won't be able to provide backup to both phases. It will only provide backup to one of the phases. Sorry, this is a bit of a long question. I'm trying to understand. So we can use an inverter in a three-phase situation, and then using the smart meter registering the use of example 3 kilowatt on the opposite two phase. The inverter is not connected to, so the inverter will release 3 kilowatt to the phase connected to feeding the grid, giving zero tariff. The customer tariff user rate is quite different. I'm not sure. So Adam's question, I'm not sure if understood this correctly. But sorry, Adam, might be better if you email me for this particular question. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what that question is, but I'll try and answer it offline.
Yep, no worries, Ricky. I have a report of all the attendees, so I can save their Q&A report and we can share the questions and reply to them promptly.
Yep.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Your answers will be your questions will be answered.
Cool, thanks. Maximum performance, this is from Ang, where maximum performance at normal operating condition. I'm not sure what you meant on this one.
She's referring to the data sheet, Ricky. In the data sheet for the panels, it's showing on all the tables minimum performance at STC and NOCT. So I'm not sure exactly what she wants, but yeah, minimum performance is guaranteed. So
I think that would be a panel question, but maybe Rifa is best answering this question.
Oh yes, for the maximum performance at nominal operating condition, you can find all this value on the data sheet. So you can find the IC test standard test condition and also the nominal operating condition on the data sheet on the second page.
Thanks, Rifat.
Cool, thanks, Rifat.
So this one from Carl. So yes, so there's okay, so there's two AC inputs. Hey, does it make sense? Two AC ports. I will correct that. Two AC ports, AC terminals. One is for the grid and one is for backup. So the grid part, it can go both import and export, but for the backup part, it has to be an export. So you can't import energy into the backup part. Hope that makes sense. So there are two AC terminals. One is grid and one is for backup. So if you want to back up a certain appliance or even the entire house, you can just pull it onto the backup port, and then just plug the grid onto the grid terminal, and then yeah, so the backup supply will always get powered from the grid, and then when there's a blackout situation, the grid terminal will turn off and it will stop supplying energy to the backup, and then the inverter will supply energy from the battery and the solar onto the backup port only. Hopefully that makes sense for you, Carl. So the rating of the AC port for the backup, yes, that's 25 amps. So the pass-through rating for the AC port also, yeah, so this is also 25 amps as well. So that's the maximum limit that the inverter can handle on the AC terminals. Sorry, this question from Sam, voltage reference point monitoring read from.
We can follow that up later.
Sorry, Sam. So a question from Chula, is the tech support line free of charge, or do we have to pay some fee? No, you don't need to pay for any fee. It's 1-800 is free of charge. I'm pretty sure it's 1-800 is free of charge. Otherwise, yeah, we wouldn't be using that one. 1-300 is the one that you have to pay. So I'm pretty sure 1-800 is toll free. So you can call us anytime. There won't be a big bill coming to you. You can talk to us for a few hours if you need to. I'm sure our engineers will be happy to answer any questions you have. Okay, I think that's all the questions. Yeah, I mean, happy to take in any feedbacks as well as questions further down after the webinar. You know, feel free to email us any questions that you know we may have missed. But thank you guys for joining in and tuning in. Hopefully the session has been informative. Thank you, guys.
Cool. Thank you, Ricky. Thanks, Kelsey. Thanks, Rayfad. And also thank you to you guys who've been tuning in and stayed throughout the duration of the webinar. I can see more than 90% have stayed. So thank you, guys.
It was such an engaged bunch, and we really appreciate your questions. One question for you, Ricky. What is the best email address for any other questions that come in to reach you and the Q Home team?
The best email is support@qhome.email. We'll be able to see those questions. Not just myself, but you know our engineers from Qcells, as well as our after-sales service center. So all our engineers were able to oversee those questions and we're able to provide answer very quickly. So shoot us an email at support@qhome.email. So just remember that. But in case you forget, you can always come back to and check with our One-Stop Warehouse as well. The support team is able to answer those questions as well.
Yes, guys, we will provide this likewise. So at tech@onestopwarehouse.com.au for any questions you got. We got your back.
Thanks,
Cool.
Ramsey.
Thanks, Ricky. All right, so yep, thank you guys for joining. I have a record of the Q&A report, so anything we missed or any pending questions I will answer, and really appreciate this. It was very informative and valuable, and I hope you guys took value from it too. Until next time, guys, thanks for tuning into One Stop Warehouse's webinar, and see you next time. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.